I know it's just early June, but man, recruiting is rolling.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I'll tell you about FanDuel here in just a little bit. Thanks for making this your first listen. Jimmy, there's a lot of high praises coming out of some visitors from this past weekend in Alabama. But before we get into them, I just want to throw this out there. There's a kid named Cederian Morgan that is at Benjamin Russell High School in Alexander City, which is my hometown. And I didn't even go to BRHS. I went to high school in Birmingham. But I'm well aware of Cederian Morgan. I called one of his games last year against Chilton County and DeMarcus Riddick, by the way. And Malcolm Simmons were on that team. Both those guys ended up signing up with Auburn. But Cederian Morgan, I remember him. I'm telling you, he's a dude. He's like a legit 6'3", a legit 205, 210. Great speed for that size, especially.
Ran a 4.55 at Alabama's camp, which is a great time for a kid his age at that size.
No doubt about it. And here's something else that, a couple of friends, and I mean, they're saying he's 6'4". I have some friends that actually call Division Russell games, and they've been doing it forever and ever. And he said he's just, look, I'm telling you, he's a freak show of an athlete. And he said that when he was in seventh grade, when he was in eighth grade, he had to guard Barry Dunning, who signed with Arkansas for basketball out of the Mobile area. And he held his own. I mean, Barry Dunning was player of the year for state of Alabama his senior year. But Cederian Morgan held his own as an eighth grader. He's just a dude, man. And he could even grow out of the receiver position. I mean, that's something that, to at least to monitor. I don't know. People always say, I want you to keep an eye on or to monitor this. I'm like, if I monitor it, is it going to change? I mean, I don't think so. My monitoring it has no bearing on what ultimately happens. But, Cederian Morgan's kind of a dude. And on top of all of it, Jimmy, Andrew Bone had already said this, but I've doubly confirmed. He is a Bammer, and his family is full of Bammers. And 24/7 already has him as like the 20th best player in the country for 2026. Is that high? I don't know, but we'll see.
He is a fantastic, great prospect, big time. That's 143, by the way, over there. Sorry, I was helping the PA.
That's what?
I was helping my PA needed some assistance there. Ced Morgan is a fantastic prospect. As a matter of fact, when I watch his tape, I'm not saying he's Julio, because that's crazy talk. That's just crazy talk. I'll just say when I watch his tape, I think of Julio Jones. And I think the comparison's pretty obvious, really, when you watch the tape. I mean, in terms of his frame and size at the same age, Julio was probably a step faster, but not by a lot. I mean, I'm not saying it's a tortoise hair situation. I would say Julio would edge him out. And that's why my comp is not Julio. I'm not sure who my comp is just yet, but I'm just saying when I watched his tape as a 10th grader, you can't help but think of the 10th grade Julio Jones. That's how good this guy is. He's one of the very few 2026 guys that Alabama offered right away over the week at the camp, and one of the few in-state offers. And hey, when this staff sees a 10th grader, because he's just now completing the 10th grade, when this staff sees a 10th grader and offers him, by the way, he is an offer take per us at BOL. BOL, we're reporting that he is an offer take, meaning he is free to commit when he wants to. The camp is over. They've seen him. They've seen all they needed. They would take him. And the kid is a big Alabama fan. Now, it's a long way to his signing day. Who knows if he may commit? Who knows if it will hold up? He's going to be I think, in my opinion, we're way here. I think he's going to be a 5-star candidate as he moves forward through his high school career. And like Luke says, we'll monitor it. It won't change a thing, but we'll monitor it. Also agree with Luke. And since he's already 205 in the 10th grade, just coming out of the 10th grade, there's the possibility that he continues to grow. And then you're talking about a different position for him. But other kids don't. It's very hard to tell. The staff would know at Alabama because they already know some things from the up-close examination, not to mention knowing something about his parents and how big they are and tall, and maybe he's got brothers or older, very close relatives. So that's sort of the things they look into in terms of determining how big a kid's going to get.
I did hear a little more about some of the relatives who would be around my age. And I can tell you that I'm not going to name any names just because I don't know. I hadn't confirmed all this, but if it is right, yeah, those do. Trust me when I say this. When I didn't play high school football, my high school team didn't have a football team, but I played up until the 8th grade. And I remember playing against some of these dudes going, they shouldn't be in the 8th grade with me.
Big dudes, huh?
Well, one of them was really big, and one of them was, big and strong, but he was also like super fast. Maybe
lineman big or linebacker big? Lineman big or linebacker big?
Boy, I don't know. One of them played running back at this time because he was so big, like nobody could tackle him. And the other one was a little older than me, so I never really played against him. But I would argue that, at least according to legend, he's one of the top 5 Benjamin Russell athletes of the last 30 years. 35 years. It may be 40 years. I should be more historically accurate about me in high school. But I think and one of them, there are other reasons to believe he's rather tough. And just let me say that I saw those reasons, and I saw him destroy people on and off the football field. So
I'm really excited about Ced Morgan's potential. Look, this is a name we all need to know. I think, we just went through a cycle where there was a lot of high-profile receivers in Alabama, and I'll tell you who he's similar to, in my opinion, better than and similar to Perry Thompson.
Okay.
In terms of better than, but similar to, because you're talking about a kid that's approximately the same build at the same age. And by the way, I thought there was a chance when Perry Thompson finished the 10th grade that he might grow into a tight end. Didn't really happen. Perry Thompson sort of stayed wide receiver size, or he has so far. Caleb Odom is in that range of where Ced Morgan is. I bet Caleb Odom was a similarly sized guy, in the 10th grade. So we'll see. But man, Ced Morgan, we're going to be talking about him a lot on the show. Obviously this is a Ryan Williams podcast. It could morph into a Ced Morgan podcast over the next couple of years.
At least the audio version. Something. We're going to probably end up doing something for him. Ryan, it's going to be hard to overtake Ryan Williams, though. That's going to. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about Ty Haywood and the glowing things he had to say about his recent Alabama visit. And then we'll talk about some of the guys that are going to be visiting this coming up weekend. But right now, I want to tell you about LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking for LinkedIn, you're not looking in the right place, yo. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process that much quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn, so why aren't you? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to apply. And let me just reiterate that I'm going to try and confirm about some of those relatives, if these are the guys. And again, I'm not saying their names. And I'm using all this in a good way, by the way. I'm not saying anything bad. Although I do have a funny story about one of them that I will not tell on this podcast. But if you see me in private, maybe I'll tell you.
I want to keep our jobs.
I do want to keep our jobs. But it is quite hilarious and quite awesome. And if true, which I believe it to be, then it even speaks to the toughness. This guy's legend grows even more to me. So
maybe one day on Locked On After Dark.
That is a story, Luke story for you to monitor.
It's a Luke story for the FCC to monitor.
All right. So Ty Haywood, 5-star tackle. He visited Alabama this past weekend, and he said, made no bones about it, they've set the bar very, very high. And it sounds like he loved his time at Bama. I'm not saying they're going to get his commitment, but it sure didn't hurt.
Yeah, great job. I mean, Andrew Bone, Joseph Hastings, and BOL have been so busy today and this afternoon. I mean, when you had 12 official visitors, that means they somehow have to figure out a way to interview up to 12 guys today, and not only interview them, but get it all right and get it all down and get it all published. And so far, from what we've read at the time, because as me and Luke are recording this, every one of those interviews have indicated the kids had a big time. I mean, of course they did. It is very rare. It is kind of funny how we always say, hey, the visit went well. Well, over 90% of visits do, 95%. In terms of what we know, 95% go well. And that's because these kids are treated like royalty on the visits, and there's a lot to look at. But what I'm really impressed by, Luke, is that these kids had such a big time, and campus is sort of desolate right now. I mean, I walked to the Strip today and didn't even have to stop at intersections. I can just keep on walking because, I mean, it's a ghost town and there's no traffic for you to worry about running over you at intersections, or at least on campus there's not. I mean, so it's sort of desolate really here at Summer One. And yet the kids all had a great time. They're all that I've read basically are all saying Alabama's my leader, Alabama's my leader. And we're going to talk about Keelan Russell. And Keelan Russell had such a big time that Steve Wiltfong has bombed him, as we call it, at On 3. Wiltfong, one of the best in the business, one of our best national guys. He interviewed Keelan Russell as Russell's dad, as Keelan Russell was ending his visit in Tuscaloosa. And Steve Wiltfong came out of that interview predicting that Keelan Russell was going to sign with Alabama. So very exciting whenever you add a quarterback. It's not official, won't be official for a while. We don't have a commitment date. As of this moment, per BOL, he's going to go to Florida and Oregon, his next official visits. As of this moment, that's the plan. That could change, of course. But Ty Haywood, as Luke pointed out, 5-star offensive lineman. If you want to know what he's like, I think a fair comp is J.C. Latham. He's Latham-esque in terms of his size and his athleticism at the same age. He's a national top 10 prospect, not top 10 tackle, top 10 prospect. Ty Haywood, raving after his Alabama visit. He loved it. But Charles House, the defensive tackle from North Carolina, Alabama's his leader. Chuck McDonald, the corner from Modern Day, Alabama's his leader coming out. I mean, Olish, the tight end from Pennsylvania, who's almost certainly going to Penn State. But he raved about the Alabama visit. He says Alabama gave him a lot to think about. And this is a kid that you almost certainly would bet would stay with his in-state Nittany Lions up in Pennsylvania. So it was a great visit weekend. But the big story, Luke, is Keelan Russell, a national consensus top 8 quarterback, headed to the Elite 11 finals, offered by Ole Miss, Oregon, and Florida, been committed to SMU since he was a really young player, quarterback of maybe the best program in the state of Texas. Big-time kid.
Then we got some official visits upcoming, some big ones, some guys who are already committed in some cases.
Yeah, we're going to do this week just like we did last week. I mean, last week we had 12 official visitors. So what Luke and I did was we sort of chopped it up and did 2 or 3 a day leading up to the weekend, so we don't spend a whole podcast, filling your head with too many names to remember. We're going to do that again this week. As of the time we record this, there are 10 players scheduled for official visits to Alabama next weekend. There's 12 this weekend, 10 next weekend. But let's just start with 2 that are already committed. Duke Johnson, who's not only committed to Alabama, he's our best commitment, in my opinion, the best player committed to Alabama. He is a 5-star candidate, a national top 40 type player. He's also, Luke, been one of our best recruiters. Duke Johnson doesn't stop recruiting for Alabama on social media. Loves Alabama. Now he's going on other visits. He's listening to some others, even Auburn. But we have no reason to doubt his commitment to Alabama. And again, he recruits for Alabama all the time. Duke is an inside linebacker type prospect. I think, he's athletic enough. He could probably get away with playing some safety, maybe some husky, because he's that athletic. But in my opinion, he's going to grow into an inside linebacker and play in college football in the 220 or maybe even 230 range. I'm a big Duke Johnson fan. And the other player to talk about is also his inside linebacker mate, also from Georgia, Jaden Harmon. Harmon is a really good 4-star type inside linebacker, but you watch the tape and you're like, oh, I want this guy. Very, like Duke, very athletic. I mean, today's inside linebacker is nothing like yesterday's inside linebacker. All those guys who are just basically fullbacks who play defense. That's not today's inside linebacker. Today's inside linebacker has a safety skill set, and they're 210. They're not 240. And they can play in space, and they're good dropping into coverage. And that's what today's inside linebacker has to be. And that I just described Jaden Harmon, who would be, I think, an outstanding, highly athletic duo with Duke in the middle of a college defense. So Jaden Harmon, who's committed to Alabama, also will be making his official visit. Again, while he continues to be recruited by other schools, we have no reason at BOL to doubt that Duke and Jaden Harmon are both pretty locked into Alabama, and we don't forecast any sort of flip from those guys. But hey, it's 2024 and anything can happen, right? But that's just a little taste of what's coming this upcoming weekend for Alabama.
When we come back, we're going to go over number 63 and 62 of Jimmy Stein's countdown. So hold your breath for just a second, everybody. And let me tell you about FanDuel. Boy, FanDuel. Love them. It's winner take all time, the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads or money lines or player props or team props or whatever. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, of course, is America's number one sportsbook. So, Jimmy, we're at 63 on your countdown. You can quit doing the number one thing.
Number one, I know, but I'm excited about, well, we're number one. And also, we're in the Alabama thing. We're number one. You're Houston Oilers retro throwback.
It's number one.
And I love that. I love that stuff.
I feel like I got like 3 more wears out of this shirt, and then I'm going to have to go to a new retro thing. But
the teams were better when we were kids. I mean, I'm into today's NFL. No doubt I am. I'm just saying that, man, you want to talk about some throwback, the Houston Oilers, the Montreal Expos in Major League Baseball.
I don't even like baseball, and I like the Expos because they always stunk. They have Andres Galarraga, the big cat.
They did. They also had Andre Dawson
Montreal Expo, I can
a long
name.
time ago. Tim Raines.
Oh, Tim Raines.
Gary Carter, the catcher.
Well, he's more known for the Mets, though.
Yeah, he does. He was an Expo before he was a Met, but you're right. He became big time deal with the Mets.
I don't know
so
why
we're 63.
all this baseball crap. But anyway.
Well, I mean, I think of Expo when the Oilers, the Cleveland Browns.
Well, all this is a great segue into Jaleel Hurley, who is number 63 on your countdown.
Hurley's a good player.
Hurley was a good baseball player.
Well, I don't doubt it. He's a lot like personality-wise. We did a Jaleel Hurley interview after spring practice, and man, his personality is a lot like Terrion Arnold. He even looks a little like Terrion. But
my kingdom for another Terrion Arnold, by the way.
Wouldn't that be great? And Jaleel Hurley's a good player. Look, he's just got, the issue right now is, yes, there's not many corners, so that's good for him. But, you're bringing in the 2 transfers, Damani Jackson and Deshaun Jones, right? So you got to figure, well, they're probably going to start. This spring, in terms of who was ahead of who in A-Day, Zabian Brown and Zay Mincy and Jalen Mbakwe, all 3 of those freshmen appeared to be ahead of Hurley. Appeared to. So That's why he's back here at 63. But look, there's no reason in the world not to think this cat's not going to be a good player. I mean, I'm as excited about Hurley today as I was the day we signed him. You know, and he was a national consensus top 50 player, the on-3 consensus top 50 nationally. You know, maybe, you know, played at Florence, hasn't maybe caught up to the speed of the SEC yet, but I think he's just kind of getting squeezed out because of some big-time talent at the position. But I'm super stoked about Jaleel Hurley and his future. I just don't know that we're going to see a lot of him this fall. But, man, I hope he sticks with it. I hope he sticks with Alabama because, again, I think this kid's going to be really good. It just might take a minute. And, again, it's hard to get in the lineup at Alabama, especially when we're bringing in guys from the portal. You know, if it wasn't guys from the portal, he'd be contending to play.
True, but this year should be easier for that position. And I guess I agree. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer because I want Jaleel Hurley to be awesome. Look, I know he was good in high school. I'm telling you, he was a dude. So I'm pro Jaleel Hurley. I want Jaleel Hurley to make things happen. But I do want to point out that, you know, if you're going to make a move, this would be the year to do it. Now, of course, the guys, Xavier Brown, Mbakwe, as you mentioned, specifically Brown. By the way, the other day I just happened to be playing basketball at Lifetime Fitness again. I don't know why I'm giving them a shout out, but they don't take any money off my monthly dues. But I talked to somebody who happened to go work out at Alabama's facility for some reason. I don't know why he was there, but he's a much younger dude, obviously. And he said, I was there, and I got to work out there. And he said, I ran into Xavier Brown. He said, that guy's going to be something. Like, this guy didn't go to Alabama. This guy might be an Alabama fan, but he didn't go to Bama. I know that. And he just was like, yeah, Xavier Brown looks like a problem. And so it just was interesting to me. He pointed him out. And anyway, I know that these guys, these younger guys are good and 5-star-ish, but Jaleel Hurley was borderline 5-star. And so I'm just saying he should be able to make a move. I feel like that. I'm not giving up on him if he doesn't. I'm just saying.
That's a good point. It's a good situation for him in the sense that it's not like that's filled with juniors and seniors who have all played. I mean, you know, he did have kind of an even playing field this spring and didn't move ahead of those guys. But we're also saying he's behind Mincy and Mbakwe and Brown based on what happened this spring. That may have been a misread. And let's see what happens in fall camp. I had a guy on BOL say, this is going to be your big miss. This is what you've really missed. You'll see this fall or whatever. I'm like, I hope so. I'm a big Hurley fan. I hope that's the case. But just my read based on what I saw this spring is he was behind 3 of those true freshmen. So I had to put him here.
Fair enough. So let's go to 62. And that is, you get $1 every time you spell it correctly. Hurley Pierre, not the Pierre part, the Hurley part. I love him. I mean, I am both completely satisfied and flabbergasted that you have him at 62. I both understand it completely and am irate with you for not believing in him more. I understand both of these things. And I know that they both should not be able to be simultaneously true, but they are. I get why he's here. I feel, you know what? Here, this will be another spin on this. The way you're doing it is the way to do it, but another spin would be, here's where I rank them now. Here's where I think they'll be at the end of the year. At the end of the year, I bet you Hurley Pierre is in your top 41.
And doesn't he wear number 41? Or is that
Courtney? Oh, my God. He does. Yeah. I swear to God, that was not playing.
Yeah, and he wears 41. Look, big Pierre fan. As a matter of fact, I look at Pierre and Hurley the same, the redshirt freshmen. I both look at them like great players. Please don't go anywhere while we have this temporary depth chart logjam issue. But the reason Hurley Pierre is where he is at the Wolf position where Hurley plays. Right now, the starters appear to be Quindarius Robinson and Keanu Coot. They are 1A and 1B. I think it looks like they're going to split the position. And behind them, Quay Russaw, who had a really good spring and I think turned a lot of heads and appears to be the dude we thought he would be. But he's on the on-deck circle behind the 2 starters, and that leaves Pierre 4th. And I think when you're the 4th player at a position where only one guy plays at a time, I don't see how he's going to get a lot of snaps this fall. And this ranking is about this fall. It's not about your career or your NFL prospects or an overall talent ranking. It's about this fall. And Pierre's fourth. I think where he got really hosed a little bit was in the scheme change. You know, under Saban and Golding, Alabama will play two outside linebackers, a Jack and a Sam. Under the Womack scheme, Alabama only plays one outside linebacker, this Wolf position, because the other outside edge part is Bandit. That's coached by Freddie Roach and is a 270-pound player. So we really only have one outside linebacker spot now. So two spots, we recruited to two spots. That's now been converged into one spot. And Pierre is now fourth team. But hey, his prospects are just like Hurley's. Like, am I going to be shocked if he's one day a first-round draft pick? No, not at all. I mean, he's still got that sort of upside. No, I've yet to hear one negative thing at all about Hurley or Pierre.
Yeah, again, I'm with you on all this, and I just feel like eventually he's going to be better. So it almost does feel like an insult, but at the same time, I think you're totally spot on. I mean, this is – and it's easy for me to say that because I'm not the one making the list. You are. I mean, I have no input on this list, by the way, obviously.
No, nobody does. I take the sole blame.
Yeah. Jimmy is
Captain
of the USS Blame Town. Whatever that is.
Trust me, nothing new there.
Yeah, you're married just like the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Shouldn't like the list either.
Yeah. Well, speaking of lists you won't like, Florida just listed out another home run. So it's 62 Gators, and that probably will put a bow on Alabama season. And again, and what's funny, right there on BOL, Jimmy, I saw somebody make the post. This is on Coach Murphy. Well, if this is on Coach Murphy, then the fact that they got to the World Series is also on Coach Murphy. So I'm willing to say, come see, come saw. Let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really have responses for that. To me, it's just Coach Murphy's the reason Alabama's in the College World Series and why, frankly, Alabama, if anything, overachieved. And all this means, a loss to Florida, all that means, Luke, is that Alabama wasn't one of the four best teams this year. And is there anybody listening to the show that watched this team played all year and said, this is one of the four best teams in softball? No, I do think they're one of the best 10 teams in softball. And the top 8 go to the College World Series, and they won a game when they were there. So they're going to finish technically 5th or 6th, fifth top 6. And I think that's a spectacular result, and that the coaching staff and girls are to be commended for getting this far.
All right. That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.